Super question, Jeremy. And firstly, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of this. I guess my decision-making process for this, apart from thinking this is going to be awesome, is probably around the role that, media and marketing plays in helping us as a society reflect on where we are. It's kind of those moments that hold up a mirror, but it also helps us to imagine a better future. And, the role I play within an organisation in my life is, where are those opportunities for me to be more intentional about helping do those two things? So if I can be more intentional in the jury and be part of as a jury helping media and marketing teams and agencies think about that intentionality and that positive cause they can drive, that's pretty awesome. So that's a part of my reasoning. Super good question. I think there are two, and they're two kind of quite different for me. One is neurodegenerative diseases, and I know that's very specific, but if we think about the rise of diagnosis in things like Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis, and the fact that more broadly in society, they're being, younger people are being diagnosed with these. And I think traditionally we tend to think about this in the over 65 group. And these are people going through a journey of diagnosis. They're in the workplace, they've got families. And I don't think more broadly as a society, we think about that. I think we tend to think neurodegenerative and your life's over and it's done. And so I think we need to be thinking about how we're talking about this, how we're normalizing it, how we paint a more positive future. And then the second piece is probably around climate change. And I know there is quite a bit around climate change at the moment, but where's that opportunity for us as consumers to make an individual choice that is part of a greater movement? I think we need to keep pressing hard here. There's a role in climate change for industry and legislation, etc., but we can't lose sight of the power of the consumer. So I'd love to see something in that space too. So I think I've probably got two there that are again slightly different, but there's a not-for-profit in Australia called It's Not Funny that are really focused around reimagining a future for people with Parkinson's disease. They've got great kind of refreshing and quirky content about how to talk about this, both for patients and broadly in the community. So I'm really loving the work they're doing. And then secondly, and when you said this question, I was reflecting on what's a campaign I've seen recently that's made me think differently. And I think this was, it was last year, 2022, but it was the Imagine campaign that I think was done through a CPB London. And they had the big billboards that said, imagine a CEO, did you see a man? Imagine a nurse, did you see a woman? And I think a super simple example of how anyone who walked through past those, they reflected on that kind of bias that exists within them. Very simple, but super effective in terms of holding up the mirror. Undoubtedly, if we think about the role that media and marketing play in unconsciously shaping our social order, how we see norms, how we think about things, and that social order, that shapes our behaviours and our actions. And, it might be one of the most significant outside our kind of immediate family environment. And so when you think about the impact that media and marketing then have on our behaviours as individuals in society, I see that almost as the main purpose for media and marketing teams and agencies. How do they drive or be part of that greater social change? How do we aspire to be a better human species? I couldn't think of a kind of more passionate place to be. So I guess I would say it comes back to this piece around how are you going to inspire a better future? How is what you're doing kind of helping us reimagine ourselves, in this better future? Or how are you helping people to reflect on who we are as a society? Where is that point that you're breaking that thought process? We can become, and we can see progress and change if we can reflect and choose to do things differently. So I think, I think if you're coming in with either of those angles to do it really succinctly. I think that's amazing.